Hey friends, Kevin, your budget travel guy here, and today we're going to have a little heart-to-heart talk on will these Texas beach camping murders change the way that you camp or explore, and if you're just thinking about van life, is this something that's going to sway you to maybe not do it? Okay, now there's another video up on this that goes into more detail exactly where, for those that didn't see it or maybe don't even know this story, there was a married couple a few weeks ago. They were killed. They were found buried on Padre Island in Texas, which is a big place where people go to and camp out. You can camp actually on the beach there. We have been there. They had a suspect. These people were in a pickup truck with a pull-behind camper, really nice setup. They had an image of these people going into Mexico, this young couple. They've arrested the man. They arrested him in Mexico. They sent him back to the United States. This guy had already had a pretty severe criminal record. He had missed a court date a few weeks before this in Utah, where he was from apparently. He'd had a lot of problems up there. The guy shouldn't have been out on the streets at this point to begin with, but that's a separate issue. I don't know if they've caught the woman yet, but I know they were looking for her. So back to the issue at hand. This has probably gotten more media coverage. It's been step by step as this thing unfolded. I know has been in USA Today, biggest newspaper in this country. I'm sure a lot of smaller ones. It has been on the news, the nightly news. People that aren't even into this lifestyle, I've mentioned it to, they have seen this story, they know about it. So while other things have happened in the last few years, this one by far has gotten way more media attention. The question, is this going to change the way that you camp or the way that you travel? And if you're new to this and just thinking about it and doing the van life thing or jumping in your RV and traveling some and adventuring some, especially to more remote areas, is it going to change what you've been doing or what you want to do? Or is this story enough to keep you from doing it at all and just deciding that being out is just too dangerous? Now, if you follow this channel, back in the summer, you will see where I had some videos up around the Withville, Virginia, Marion, Virginia area, right off of Interstate 81, a little bit south of Roanoke. And in that area, there are some national forests that I was camping in. There was a state park that I went to and did a video on with the ponies, wild ponies that you can see in the state park. I'll link those videos down below if you want to go back and watch those. But anyway, a few days before I went up there, I knew I was headed that way because I had friends in the area, and my friends had sent me the links. This man with mental issues had gone out on the Appalachian Trail, which runs right through this area, big hiking trail up the east coast of the United States, and had stabbed people. One person died who was a veteran. I think there was just one person killed. I think there were a couple more that were injured pretty badly. These people were minding their own business. They were in a tent off the Appalachian Trail. Unfortunately, they just crossed paths with this man with mental issues. And it had a bad outcome. Now, there are probably tens of thousands of people that do some portion of the Appalachian Trail every year, maybe even a higher number than that. It's sad when something like this happens, but things can happen almost everywhere. Now, as far as those original questions, is it going to change how you do things? I'd like to hear this. Get your reaction down in the comment section below. But I can tell you this is not the first time or the second time in that situation that we've been in this situation. When we were out last year and doing the Route 66 stuff, and we ventured down off of there into southern Arizona, Lake Havasu City, this beautiful area, there are several sections of BLM land out there, a Bureau of Land Management. If you're really new to this and haven't heard of this, in the West, you have places you can go camp up to 14 days for free. No hookups, no anything. You just basically go into this area that's designated and you pick a spot, and it's first come, first serve. And you're usually in remote areas. These in Lake Havasu are just a mile or so out of town. They're really close, they're really convenient. And we were there for a couple of days, and we met this gentleman, and we left for a few days and did some other things, and we come back around through the area. And I'd been to Lake Havasu once many years ago. I really liked that area, and we just needed a break because we had come all the way from the east. We decided this is kind of our stopping point in this part of the world. We're going to take 4 or 5 days, hang out here with our new friend we'd met, and before we started venturing back across the country. And several days into being there, of course, we're talking about different things. We'd have breakfast together, and we'd, sit around and talk at night and what have you. And this was an older gentleman, a retired gentleman. He lived in Arizona anyway, and he would be home a little while, then he would go out and he would camp. And he would camp at this spot for a couple of weeks, and then he would go about 15 miles away and camp at another spot for a couple of weeks. And he had done this for quite a few years, so he was really familiar with the area. And we were just talking about things, and out of the night, just out of the blue, he says, "Oh, you realize there was a murder here a couple of years ago?" And I'm like, "No, I hadn't heard or seen that story." He said, "Yeah, there was a man over there in an RV, an older gentleman, and probably a few hundred yards from where we happened to be at the time." He said, and he'd befriended this young guy, and this young guy broke in on him on the middle of the night and killed him, took his money and left. In these areas with this government land, usually you're pretty close to people, close enough to at least see the next people. It depends on how busy it is. But you can end up in some really remote sections, or you can be as close to other people almost as you want to be. But I mean, that was a really sad story, to find out that someone had been killed there while they were camping by some young punk. So these things go on everywhere, probably even more than we hear about, just like things in towns and cities go on that we don't always hear about. Because you generally hear stuff about what's happening in your town, your city, your little region, much more than the horrible crimes that just go on every day, everywhere across this country. Back to the original question, is it going to keep me from doing this? Absolutely not. I have never let anything keep me from doing what I want to do. I just try to use some common sense, trust my instincts, and have some things with me for protection, which we can talk about in a future video. If that's something you'd like to see, put that down in the comments below. There have been times that we've been out and we've gotten a bad vibe for whatever reason, and we have just chosen to leave and go somewhere else. When that happens, I think you should trust your instincts. And while people have all kinds of setups, and there's the people that go out and they have the pull behinds and they have the extra trailers and they're setting up massive tents and doing all these things, this is part of why I like being in a self-contained vehicle. Not that their way is wrong, but this is my personal preference. If something happens and it's midnight and somebody comes along that I don't really care for, or some locals decide to come through the area and start their little hell raising, whatever goes on, we can simply move up to the driver's seat, start the vehicle, and leave, rather than have a possible altercation or have our not ruined completely by whatever is going on. Now, those are very, very rare instances, but they do happen. They've happened to us. They've happened to other people. Now, if you're out long enough, eventually you're going to run into one of those situations. So you need to be prepared for it, and you need to have a plan for it. And it's a lot easier if you're self-contained and all you have to do is jump up in the driver's seat, turn the key, and go, than if you have this trying to haul a house full of stuff with you to where it takes you hours to break things down and pack everything back and load your van or your RV back up when you're ready to go to the next site. So again, I'd love to hear your comments on this. I know these last couple of videos have been a little bit on the morbid side, but it's something that definitely needs talked about, and I know I have a lot of new people on my channel and a lot of people that haven't really been out yet but are thinking about doing this that are on my channel. So it's important we discuss these things and make sure that when you're out or when you do go out, that you're going to be safe. And we'll see you next time.